has come out in a massive way. If Man United sign Harry Kane and a midfielder of Jude Bellingham's level this summer, we are challenging for that Premier League title. And I believe we can win that Premier League title.
I think you need a bit more than that.
With further investment. And I think
you need a bit more than that.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. We'll come back to that as a talking point in a second. The news about Jude Bellingham that's come out today is that the Man United's board, and a lot of the board will remain with the new owners in the short term. They have stated that they are confident once the takeover is complete that they can land Jude Bellingham ahead of rivals Real Madrid, Liverpool, and Manchester City. Now, how good a player do you think Jude Bellingham is?
I think he's quality, but I think he's mad overhyped. Like, he's a very, very good player. Let's not even go there. He is a top player. But Terry, the hype around this lad is insane. Like, we've seen this hype with Jadon Sancho. Like, and he come to Manchester, and excuse me, I know he played very well against Fulham the other day, but other than that, it's here and there. Like, one game here, one game there. Like that Bundesliga, I do not rate it one bit. And listen, I know Erling Haaland's coming in and wiped the floor with the Premier League, but he's just different. He's one in a generation type talent, isn't he? I don't think Bellingham is a one in a generation talent. Like, he's not generational. Like, we've seen Bellingham type players before, and he's doing it in a league. And fair play to him, because I think they are top of the league. I think Bayern lost again at the weekend, so he's helping them get to the top of the table. But this is the Premier League, mate. Yeah, we've seen bigger and better midfielders come into this league and get absolutely ripped to shreds. So 150 mil, 130 mil, 120 mil, I get the price tag, I understand it, but he ain't worth anywhere near that. Let's be real with it. And there is only, again, a handful of clubs that will pay it. I think that if Man City go and do 130 mil on him, they could get rid of Calvin Phillips for 50 somewhere else or 40 somewhere else. So all of a sudden it's then like, what, 110 if they do 150 on him. Yeah, like, we know Man City could go and do 100. They've done it on Jack Grealish. We know you could go and do 100. You've done it on Anthony. Yeah, we're talking like 150 here, apparently. So Real Madrid haven't made a real marquee signing for a long, long time. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at Madrid. Right, and he's not worth the dough. If I'm being completely honest, I really do like watching him play. I think he's a fantastic player. Right, but if I was to put a price tag on him, I'd say about 75, 80 mil. Like, because there are other midfielders out there. Declan Rice, slightly different player, I get it. Yeah, but Declan Rice doing it week in, week out in the Premier League. You know, there are other players out there that you could go and get that are equally as good. But because he's playing in the Bundesliga, which is a crap league, in my opinion, for me, it ain't even a top 5 league. I'd put the Portuguese league above that. Like, real talk. Yeah, I would. Mate, technical ability in the Portuguese leagues, light years clearer most in Europe. Like, the leagues, that Bundesliga, until this season, Bayern win it every year. I think they won 10 in a row, ain't they? So, you know, it's them against the rest. Like, but I don't know, man. I look at the amount of players that come from that Bundesliga into the Premier League. And if you go back over the last 5 to 10 years, not really many of them have hit the dizzy heights that they did in Bundesliga, did they? So
and I do hear that. I think that's a fair point. I really like Jude Bellingham. I like what I see in terms of how he plays. Is he overpriced? I get why people would say that. What Bellingham comes with, though, is huge commercial potential, which is why his price is so much higher, because he's a tall, handsome, good-looking young man. And when you have looks and great footballing ability combined, you think about, I always wonder, because I think Wayne Rooney was technically a better football player than David Beckham, and I rate David Beckham. If Wayne Rooney, as an Englishman, had Beckham's looks but Rooney's ability, the amount of money that he would have been paid as a footballer would have doubled, because the commercial opportunities are so much higher. And we have to remember how important image rights are when it comes to the valuation of a player. The image rights of which reason why the Saudis are paying Ronaldo so much money is because Saudi Arabia essentially now owns his image rights. So Saudi Arabia can use his image on anything they want now, within reason. You know, there'll be some stipulations around not promoting certain behaviors or attitudes or anything like that, but he can be used on anything. They own those rights and they pay him so much money for it.
No, I get that, but you did the same with Sancho when you signed Sancho. It was the same height.
So I totally. So again, I'm trying to separate the two different situations here. So I understand why the money's high. That's why I'm worried about this deal. I would be worried about, again, Man United's a different animal in terms of can you handle the pressure of playing for us? You then couple that with a 120, 130 million pound price tag. I've just got a feeling it's not going to work for us. As much as I rate him as a player, I almost don't want us to do this. I almost want us to take that money and invest it in 2 or 3 other players that could come into this team and deliver. So I have no issue with his ability. I think he's going to be a good footballer, but I think the price tag coupled with signing for Man United is just, I've got a horrible gut feeling it would be a bad mix. Equally, as much as Man United feel they're confident they're going to get him, I believe he's getting Real Madrid anyway. I don't even think City could get him. City could do it with where they are, the money they have, their manager. But I think he's going to end up going to Real Madrid. That's where I personally think he's going to end up going. So this is a transfer that I'll report on. It's probably going to be if and when our takeover happens, we're going to get linked to everyone anyway, and we will talk about it on the terrace. But like I always say to people, just because it's reported by an official media outlet as a deal being on,
don't mean it's going to happen.
doesn't mean I'm gonna personally think it's happening. And I said something, I tweeted me a minute ago, and he said, "Why do you think this deal's happening?" I said, "Have you watched the show yet?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, watch the show and then comment on my tweets because I'm telling you what the news is. That's not my opinion on the matter. So I don't think Man United will get Jude Bellingham. However,
there was somebody in the chat that, sorry to cut you off. There's somebody in the chat that said Real Madrid, FFP, and all of this. Yeah, mate, they're the King's Club. They're the Royal Club of Spain, mate. They get whatever they want. The real talk. I'm not even chatting crap. They are the royalty club of Spain.
And they might sell someone. They might move somebody on. They might do something.
Well, Eden Hazard will be out the door. I know we're coming to him in a minute. Yeah, they're going to probably get rid of Carvajal. They need a rebuild. Modric is probably going to be in the last. He's probably going to do one more year. Tony Kroos is on his last legs. Benzema's signing a new deal until the end of next year, so he's going to do one more year. They need some marquee players in there, Real Madrid. They've got Camavinga. They've got Tchouaméni in there. Now imagine getting Bellingham in there. Them 3 in midfield, that's them sorted for 10, 12 years.
No, I understand. I want to go to some of these comments for a second here. This is Terry. Terry's so funny. What does looks have to do with if a player is good enough to start? Absolutely nothing. I wasn't talking about him starting for Man United. I was talking about his price being higher because of his image rights. Rooney, I use Rooney as an example because he had massive image rights looking how he looks. Imagine he had David Beckham's looks. Highly talented footballers that are good looking, attractive, have much higher image rights. You combine a brilliant ability with good looks, you're always going to be more expensive because of the marketing and commercial connection to you. That is what I'm hoping you listened to what I said before you commented, because that's what sensible people do. This comment here says, not sure United will chat. I'll come back to this one in a minute, my friend. Bellingham to United makes no sense, in my opinion. In our system, he replaces Bruno. We need a dribbler, progressive demon like Frankie de Jong, not box to box. Pogba 2.0 if it happens. And I think a lot of people agree with you. And again, I rate Bellingham high. And maybe it is a tactical situation. There's something about the deal that doesn't sit right with me as a United fan, and I don't personally think it would quite work. So I think it's a really good comment that you made there, my friend. My point of view with this, what we were saying about earlier, I think if Man United do sign Harry Kane, and if they add a top-class midfielder, we know there's problems at Barcelona still. They can't even register Gavi because of the changing of the rules there. And Gavi's a guy they want. I think if Man United sign a Frankie de Jong, a really progressive ball-playing midfielder, Harry Kane, and a bit more backup in that defensive line, and probably a new goalkeeper. Because I think
you definitely need a keeper, 100.
So
you need a centre back as well.
So I get it. If we signed, and I think we can sign those 4 players in the summer. I think those 4. If we signed Diego Costa as an example, no, his name isn't Diego Costa, is it? It's
Diego Costa's older than you, Terry.
What's the name of the goalkeeper? It's something. What's his name? The goalkeeper at Porto. What have I forgot his name for? His name has literally just left my head.
Diogo Costa.
Diogo Costa. You're not Diego. Yeah, Diogo Costa. I knew it was that, and then I said it and I got it slightly wrong. If Man United sign Costa, if we bring in Frankie de Jong, if we bring in a Harry Kane or an Osimhen to this team right now, and then we do add another quality centre back as an option, Man United will challenge for the Premier League title next year with Ten Hag here. Adding that extra quality into our team, we're only a handful of wins now this season away from being in the title race, a handful of better results away from it. And I believe those signings will do it. That's why, for me, this takeover is key. Further investment is key because Arsenal were brilliant. We know how good City are. They're going to improve in the summer. If we go out there and have a summer like that, 4 key staple signings, we'll probably bring in 5 or 6 players, but I'm talking 4 main players there. A brand new top quality centre back, Costa in goal. I want that guy. I think he looks really, really talented. Of course, a midfielder, Frankie de Jong's my number 1 choice. Harry Kane or Osimhen up front. And genuinely, Man United will challenge for the title next year. And I will make us one of the favourites because we're going to build a winning mentality throughout this season. We'll invest brilliantly in the summer. There'll be a new feeling around the club with these new owners as well. And a feeling of a sense and a need to achieve more. You couple that all together. We've seen the improvements at Newcastle since serious people took over. You invest it with that at the same time, and you build upon what Ten Hag has already created. Man United will be in that title race next year without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. 110%.
I think you need about 7, 8 players
to challenge for the title.
Maybe not to challenge. Well, I don't know. If you want to compete on all fronts, like you're doing very well at the moment, but this international break's come at the right time for you and for us, I think. But you need a right back. Yeah, Delo and Wan-Bissaka, as good as Wan-Bissaka's been, one of them's not probably going to be there next season. So you need a right back as backup. I think you need definitely a centre back. Definitely 100%, maybe 2. Yeah, I think you definitely need 2 midfielders. Yeah, Scott McTominay just ain't the guy. Yeah, Eriksen might not be there at the end of the season. Like, I think he's back after international break. He's been decent since he's got there, but I think you'll be kind of phasing him out. Yeah, obviously Sabitza's on loan. You've got Fred and Casemiro. Who else you got?
But I think that's the point, though. If you look at midfield, I get your point about right back, and that's probably an area we need to look at as well. But I think the club will look at Julian Timber, again, as an example. It'll be someone the club goes back to look at. In midfield, Casemiro is going to be here as it is. Eriksen won't be phased out next season. That's 2 or 3 years' time. Eriksen's part of this midfield moving forward. I think we'll look at Sabitzer, and it'll be a player the club looks to bring in.
I think you'll keep him. He's a good player.
As an option. So if you say you've got those players there, and then you put Frankie de Jong into that mix, and then you've got Fred. If you've got a midfield 5 that you use generally in a 2, and Bruno Fernandes, because he's part of the midfield. If you have Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Frankie de Jong, Christian Eriksen, Fred, and Sabitzer, I think that's a good enough midfield combination to win a Premier League and compete in other trophies. From an attacking point of view, if you say we had Victor Osimhen, we use Osimhen as the example. Osimhen is the number 9 with Rashford, with Sancho, with Anthony, with Garnacho that's being developed, and maybe one more attacker.
Who's the lad you've got on loan? You got the lad on loan. What's his name?
You've got Ahmad. Ahmad looks pretty decent.
Ahmad Diallo, that's him.
Ahmad Diallo. Yeah, maybe he comes back and looks real good. And I think in midfield, I'm talking about one main buyer. Maybe you bring in Sabitzer, and you may then look at, a player that I would also maybe try and look at. Maybe you don't sign Sabitzer, and what you actually say is, well, we've got Frankie de Jong that's coming in, that is Sabitzer, who is the position that Sabitzer's in right now. And maybe what we do is look at someone like a Caicedo and say, we're bringing you into this team as a player to play now, but a longer-term vision with the Casemiro deal. There's multiple options, but if we improve those key areas, which I think which we're going to have the facilities to do, we challenge for that league title next year, and we speed this process up again because we're not far off now. We're not a million miles away from it right now. We're 4 or 5 players, in my opinion, from being able to do it, and that's why I'm so excited about this takeover, because we've found the right manager, we've found the right culture. We just need somebody to supercharge it and maintain it. And there was a comment that came through that said, Terry, new owners, it doesn't mean that you'll get, like, new owners means instant success, but we're having success now. We've just won a trophy. We're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. We're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League and seen as a favourites to win it. I believe we can win another trophy this year. If we win
when has the Qatari ownership never worked?
Well, but this is it.
Is there a club out there where they've got Qatari owners and they've never won anything? I don't know.
I look at it this way: instant success. I didn't say we'd win the league year 1. I said we will challenge and be one of the favourites. So be very careful when it comes to interpreting my words wrong. We will challenge and we will be there, because you add that level of quality to a squad that's got the right culture in it already, where the atmosphere and winning mentality is right. It works. It's why the first year of signings under your manager Arteta weren't so great. Some of the younger players haven't, Lokonga hasn't done so well. But your main signings for the last 2 years, your big money signings and your main first team players have all been pretty good. Nearly all of them have been pretty good. And that's because they're joining a club with the right culture now. And that's why if you guys go and sign Declan Rice in the summer, he's more than likely to be a hit. If Declan Rice joined Arsenal 3 or 4 years ago, maybe not, because it's about joining clubs in the right phase of your career. That's the one reason why I've still got time for Sancho. Sancho joined at literally the worst time in Man United's like modern day history, and he really struggled. If you join a bad environment, you become part of that very, very quickly. So listen, with these new owners coming in, we're going to next levels. And I've said it for a few weeks now, rivals, you got to be mindful about that.
They're scared, Terry. Your rival's scared.